Okay, so we're going to continue on this same stuff. This is factoring linear expression. Okay, so can somebody tell me what is a factor? What does it mean if I say factor something? Like if I was to say, what are the factors of 8? Give me some factors of 8. What does that mean? Jackson? Okay. So factors basically are numbers. They can also be variables that we multiply to get a product. Okay, good. Sometimes we get factors and multiples mixed up, but factors are basically like it's like what you the two numbers you multiply. Now every number in the world has a common factor. Does anybody know what it is? One. Every number has a factor of one, right? But right now we're not concerned with the factors of one. We're concerned with the factors other than one. So if I had something like, for example, 8, what are some numbers I can multiply to get 8? 2 and 4. Okay, I also have 1 and 8, right? But that's pretty much, there's basically those four factors, right? And usually the bigger a number, especially if it's even, the more factors it has. Does that make sense? So let's say I added something to this. Let's say I had something like 12x. What do you think the numbers that I multiply to get 12x are? Well, first of all, I can start with 1 and what? 12. What else? 2 and 6. Anything else? 3 and 4. Okay? But there's one other thing I can multiply because what do I have here? I have an x. So I'm going to add an x to all those factors. Okay? That's all of the factors of 12. Does that make sense so far? Yes or no? Okay. Now, sometimes what you want to do today, you want to try to get what we call the greatest common factor. What is the greatest common factor? The largest number that is common among two numbers. Okay? Can I erase this? All right. Are we good? Now let's think back. If I have something like this, what do I do to get rid of these parentheses? What do I do? Does anybody remember what that's called? Austin? Good. The distributive property, okay? So I basically multiply 2 times y, which is, and 2 times 4, which is what? Positive 8. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take this and we're going to do the reverse. We're going to turn it into something like this. Okay? So let's just do this one because we already see it. I have 2y plus 8. Okay? Give me a number that goes into both of those things. What's something that goes into both of those? Brock says 2, and he is correct. So if I take a 2, what would I multiply 2 by to get 2y? What would I multiply 2 by to get 2y? Y. What would I multiply 2 by to get positive 8? Positive 4. Okay? Did we basically do the reverse of what we had already done? Yeah, it's pretty easy, right? Okay? Now let's say I've got something like this. 4m plus 4. Okay, the number that goes on the outside, okay, when we factor these things, the number that goes on the outside is something that goes into all of the numbers inside. What do I mean by that? What is something that goes into both 4m and 4? I could do 2, couldn't I? But if I did 2, okay, I would have 2m plus 2. These two still have a common factor, don't they? That's not the greatest factor. But you guys said what? 4. 4 goes into both of these. So I could say 4. 4 times what gives me 4m? M. 4 times what gives me 4? So m plus 1. This would be the simplified factors of that expression. Okay? Does that make sense so far? Obviously, it's going to get harder, but does that make sense so far? Okay, let's say I've got something, um, let's say something like this, okay? 27q minus 72. Okay, let's think for a minute here, okay? What is something that can go into both of these, you think? I know 3 can go into both of them, right? But let's go bigger. Is there something bigger than 3, Connor? Connor says 9. You think 9 will go into both of these? I think so too. So if I take a 9 and I put it into this, 9 times what gives me 27q? Everybody, 9 times what gives me 27q? 3q. And 9 times what gives me negative 72? You got to be careful here. Why? Because it's a negative. 9 times what gives me negative 72? Negative 8. Now, the way that I know that I factored this down to its simplest form, I look at these numbers. Okay? Is there anything that goes into these two? One's the only thing, right? If 1 is the only factor that they have in common, then you have simplified it. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, let's try another one. Let's say I've got something, okay, this is easy. 15x plus 30. Okay? Let's just say I chose 5. Okay? Let's just say for argument's sake I chose 5. 5 goes into 15. 5 times what gives me 15x? 3 what? And 5 times what gives me positive 30? What kind of 6? Okay, you guys, before I go any further, do you understand where these came from? Okay. Now, what the problem is here, I have something that can go into both of these, don't I? What goes into both 3x and 6? 3. So if I take a 3, 3 times what? Well, oops, sorry. I have a 5 out here already. But what's the thing that goes into both of these times 3? So I take a 3 out of that, okay? What is 5 times 3? So now I have 15 out here. 15 times what goes back to this? 15 times what gives me 15x? X. And 15 times what gives me positive 30? Plus 2. Now, do these have any factors in common other than 1? No. So am I good down here? Yes. Okay, does that make sense? Yes? Okay, good. All right. Now did you have a question, Drew? Oh, we totally could have. I was just showing you that if you take a number that's not the greatest common factor out, you still have to go further. All right. Let's try one like this. What's different about something like this? Let's say I got 16 minus 28m. What do you notice about this? Okay, what's one thing you notice? Jackson? Huh? It's flipped. Do you think that changes anything? No. Okay. But another thing that you notice about this, all of the other numbers that we had a large number that went into both of them, right? Well, 16 and 28 they're not factors of each other, are they? In other words, 28 is not a multiple of 16. So I have to think for a moment, what's the largest number that goes into 16 and 28? Okay? If I do 2, 2 goes into 16, 2 goes into 28. Well, what can I go bigger? What? 4? Okay, I can do 4. Why can't I choose 8? 8 goes into 16, but it doesn't go into 28. Okay, so I'm going to go with 4. All right, so if I choose 4, 4 times what gives me positive 16? 4. 4 times what gives me negative 28m? Negative 7 what? Okay. Do these have any factors in common other than 1? No. All right, does that make sense now? Okay. All right. What if I get a crazy one like this? 21x plus 49y minus 14z. Okay, I got 3 numbers here. Are we going to be okay? We're going to be okay. What's something that goes into all 3 of these? Macy? 7. Do you guys agree? Why couldn't I say 7x? 7x goes into this one, doesn't it? But does 7x go into this one? No. 7 does, but 7x does not. So I'm going to try 7. Okay, good. So we have a 7. 7 times what gives me 21x? You guys agree? 3x. 7 times what gives me 49y? Plus 7y. Good. And 7 times what gives me negative 14z? Negative 2z. Are there any other factors in these three inside here that are common? No. Am I good on this one? Remember, what do you do when you have it simplified all the way? Put it in a box. Okay? Are we getting clear? Okay? I'm going to write one up here, and I want you guys to try it. Okay? Let's do this one. 32 minus 4g minus 12h. Okay, I want you to factor that and tell me when you get an answer. Nobody yet? Zuri has an answer. Macy has an answer. Connor has an answer. Jackson has an answer. Daniel has an answer. Sam has an answer. Jordan, give me a number that goes into all of those. You guys agree? 4. So if I choose 4, Jordan, 4 times what gives me 32? What kind of 8? Thank you. 4 times what gives me negative 4g? What would that be? Negative what? I can say negative 1g. What can I also say? Just negative g. So same thing. And 4 times what gives me negative 12h? Negative 3h. Okay, are there any factors in here that are common other than 1? Okay, raise your hand if you understand how this works. This is not that difficult, is it? Pretty easy once you get it. All right, excellent. I'm going to give you a worksheet.